So I've been working on the KE100 for a little bit now, and I keep ending up having to buy new parts, and I get those parts and I start getting into it a little more and end up finding other parts I need to buy. So I think I'm just gonna try to really go through this and see if I can get the bike as roadworthy as possible, so once it's not, you know, negative frickin' 20 degrees outside, I can start tearing around a bit. I think I've overpaid for this bike a little bit. I paid 900 bucks for it. These are pretty cheap if you could find them. But yeah, I'm just gonna go over some of the things that I think I know I'm gonna need to do, some of the things I've done, and really just so I can kind of lay out all of the rest of the parts I'm gonna have to buy. Hey, you get in for 900 bucks and it runs and everything, and you're like, hey, this is gonna work all right. And by the end of it, I'm gonna end up putting at least, well, a couple hundred more bucks into it. So let's see what we got. Front end, most of this bike was just all loose when I got it. So a lot of tightening up, but forks, one of the forks is blown, so I just ended up replacing the seals. Those were 25, 30 bucks. The tires came with the bike, ended up buying new tubes for it. So those are in now, and I trued up the wheel. That went okay. So the front end is looking okay. It didn't come with mirrors. I found these little cheapies on Amazon, and honestly, they're all right. I kind of like them. They're kind of funny. I need to get a washer under this one, so it's spaced out far enough. I got to shim this one. This light is okay. This one is not. I'll pull those off and figure that out. Just adjusted the brakes, redid, or not redid, but put new shoes in the front wheel. So basically, front end, I believe I'm pretty much done with that, outside of fixing up the mirror and this light. Oh, I should also mention when I got it, speedometer didn't work. So, I mean, I just needed the speedometer part, which is over here. I just needed that. This was broken, but I couldn't find just this part. Looked all over for it. So, I had to buy, you know, a whole assembly for 48 bucks in shipping just to get this part, which is in there now. So, another one of those nickel and dime things. What else we got? So, let's keep moving backwards. Looking at the tank. Tank's aluminum, so that's great. Means I don't have to deal with rust. Just bought new spark plugs for it, so I'll get into there. I've taken the head off, cleaned it up, but actually got a whole new gasket set coming from Vesra, because this, on this bike, it's a little bit, actually the carburetor's hiding inside of here. So, rotary valve carbureted bike, I believe the leak is coming from in here. So that's got the whole set coming. I couldn't actually find a carburetor kit for this bike though. So I know this carburetor is used on some other bikes, the Suzuki as well, in addition to the Kawasaki. So I'll find that. Petcock, annoying as shit because the handle's broken off, and I always like to shut the gas off if I'm not at the bike, because if the floats fail and doesn't seat properly or something, all of a sudden you just filled up your entire crankcase with gasoline, and you run the risk of grenading an engine. I don't like that. I actually just found the Petcock online for a replacement for 10 bucks, however, so that is already in my shopping cart, so that's gonna happen. Fuel line here, fuel line's fine, but I've got more fuel line. I'll replace that one. These bolts on here, I pulled this cover off. This cover hides the injector pump for the two-stroke oil, and like I've had to do on a bunch of older bikes, these bolt heads get stripped out because people don't use JIS bits. They end up using Phillips head screwdrivers and just strip the shit out of them. And I got these two out, and this one I had easy impact on, and it pretty much destroys it. So I've got a set of stainless steel bolts. I've actually got a whole bunch of longer ones too, but none this long. So I'll reuse the ones that I can, because a lot of them are in good condition, but I can tell that guy there, that's gonna need an impact driver, and that's gonna have to be replaced. Luckily it's a shorty. I know I'll have that somewhere in my house, so that'll be taken care of. Air filter, I haven't pulled this off yet. This will come out now. I'm just gonna see how dirty it is. Bike only had 2,500 miles on it, so this shouldn't be all trashed up, but this bike has been a bunch of surprises. A ton of it isn't in great condition, and some of it looks like it's been in a crash. So who freaking knows? When I got it, the rear brake light here wasn't set up. It wasn't working, but I don't see any reason it shouldn't. The spring was, honestly, it was attached to the wrong thing. So I don't know what that was about. Grease that thing up and it slides fine. That'll be able to work. Continuing on, actually, we'll get to that in a second. However, the sight glass here just broke that off because this was a source of a leak. It wasn't seating in here correctly, and it's a piece of glass and an O-ring that sits on there, and I don't understand how that could start leaking. But real quick, looking for a replacement for it. This is the piece, and I chipped something off of it, and then I tried to glue the old O-ring to it just to see how that would look, and that was kind of stupid of me, but it is hex, so theoretically I feel like I should be able to get something on there, but 28.5. I've got sockets that go up to 1, 2. What am I doing? I'm an idiot. It's an octagon, not a hexagon. Alright, forget whatever I just said. That was really stupid of me. Oh, back onto the front end. There's a horn. I actually have the horn. Didn't work when I had it. So when I got the bike, the weak-ass little tiny 6-volt battery. This is a 6-volt system. Really stupid. I wish there was an easy way to make it 12, but there isn't. Tiny little battery. The bike runs without it. I did get this thing charged, and it does work. Incredibly useless headlight with that battery on it, and I won't ride this thing at night. I feel like it's just a great way to get pulled over or crash into something. So I ordered an Agm battery. That should be here this week. I've never had one of those absorbed glass matte batteries. I've always had the non-sealed batteries, so that should be nice. I think this line I will probably leave. This goes into the oil injector pump there, which is a pretty nifty device. I've never seen one of those before. Curious thing about this bike. So the throttle cable pulls both the throttle, and inside of here it actually, well, I got the cover on, but it pulls the injector pump open too, so it starts putting more oil into the mixture when you pull it. That's kind of cool. The other thing is that the clutch, when you pull in the clutch, actually pulls the kickstand up at the same time. So the clutch cable and the throttle are both working on two independent systems, which is, I don't know, it's just kind of cool. So new sight glass coming, that's another 10 bucks, and it's coming, I've got another O-ring for it, so I'll get that on, and hopefully no more leaks from there. Full engine gasket set's coming, so that's like, I don't know, 50 bucks for that, another 15 for that, another 10 for the petcock, all those kind of things. Don't know what happened to this brake rod here because it's bent as shit. It works fine. I've got stopping power with it. Got more stopping power with the rear brake now than I do the front, which is crazy. But I'm going to take that off and just straighten it out. I'm not going to replace it. It's like, I can't remember, like 35 bucks or something for that. Screw it. It works, and I will just get that fixed up. Rear wheel, rear tire is going to come off. Look at this valve stem. In doing my research about tires, because I just did my first tire change, this is a sign of, well, either a tire that hasn't been seated correctly, but it's been working out for 18 years, or it's starting to slip in there, and if this gets enough traction, granted it's a tiny little bike, tiny little engine, you run the risk of, you know, if the tube slips inside of the tire, just ripping the valve stem right off, and there goes your tube, and you got a flat tire. So I think that's it for this side of the bike. The back, I don't like how this is sitting. It's not straight. So it's got a lot of movement under here. Let's see if I can show that. Anyway, I think I can get that tightened up. The front fender here, I've got it off for now. It actually looks relatively straight here, but it's crooked, and it's kind of exacerbated when, actually, it would be this way on the bike, and it's just off to the left. So I'm gonna get the heat gun out and see if I can kind of reform it a little bit, see if that works out. So that's this side of the bike. When once the carburetor comes out, even if I can't get a gasket set for it, I feel pretty comfortable that I'll just be able to get it, the most of it cleaned up. The float bowl gasket, I guess, is the one worry on there. If I have to, I'll cut a gasket, but that never works as well as, you know, a gasket that was, you know, made for it. I wish I could get a center stand for this bike, but I understand why they don't come with them. Let's see here. I can see that I'm leaking some shit down there. That's why I've got the, oh, I'm gonna drain the oil out of it. So skid plate's gonna come off. Exhaust, pretty badass. I've actually got some new exhaust gasket, crush those copper crushes to go in there. I thought the chain was gonna be terrible, and it's not. Actually, the chain's pretty darn good. And the sprocket, if you can see the teeth, I mean, 2,500 miles on it, the sprocket's not gonna be too destroyed by now. So sprocket's gonna be fine. Again, these bolts, they aren't great, so we'll see how many of, jeez, that one's not good. So those will have to get undone, and I'll replace the ones that I have to. So I think for the most part that is what I will have to do. I mean, the speedometer and everything, that's replaced. Headlight, I can't make the headlight too much brighter. I'm getting a good battery for it, better than the $12 battery or whatever. I think the Agm Battery was 38 bucks or something like that. So it's a better battery than probably most of these would have in them. So hopefully that helps out the system quite a bit. It's weird because, I mean, the turn signals with how weak this charging system, not charging system, but the whole electrical system, the 6-volt system, they blink like once every 5 seconds. I mean, you could barely tell that it's even on. So, I mean, when I'm riding this thing, I'm using hand signals. So, I don't know. I'd like to get this bike to a point where I feel it's tight enough, good enough that I'll get my mom to ride it. My mom is somebody who hasn't ridden a motorcycle in, geez, since, I think she got her motorcycle license the year after I got mine. So, 14 years or so. She started off on a Sportster, same Sportster I did, which was one of the dumbest ideas my dad ever had. Sportster's a big-ass bike. It's like 550 pounds, 600 pounds or something like that. My mom's 5'1", if that. I had trouble riding that thing, and she tipped it over on herself just like I did. And my mom, God, a little tiny woman. I don't even know how to guess a woman's weight, but she could have been more than 110 pounds at that time. Lifted it up by herself in an intersection. Which is, nobody even told her how to do it. None of those techniques about back up to the bike or whatever. No, just pure fucking adrenaline. So I'd like to see her get another shot. And this is one step up from a scooter. It's essentially a scooter, but it's way more fun. So I think now I'm gonna figure out a way to jack this thing up. And if you're wondering why that Kickstarter is just tied down, I was messing with that cover. That's why it looks like that. So yeah, this is going to be the rest of the winter project. I think this one's going to be pretty much self-explanatory, unlike the other bikes I've been working on. So outside of the rotary valve, I understand this bike for the most part. It worked. I had so much fun riding this. I think I only maybe put 150 miles on it or something. Nothing too long. I rode it. It was under 30 degrees at some point, so I mean, it's just hilarious. The speedometer is kind of funny. It says some ridiculous shit like, oh yeah, you're gonna go 80 miles an hour on here? There's no way. This will go 80 miles an hour if you drop it from a helicopter. And I keep reading all these YouTube reviews and stuff about it and blah, blah, blah. Oh, I used to hit 65 with it. No, you didn't. Not without gearing this thing to have absolutely no power down low. Did you ever get this thing up to 65 miles an hour? No fucking way. I'm not tiny, but I'm not a huge fat guy. I'm 165, 168 pounds, depending on what I ate. And maybe 52 miles an hour flat. That's it. So yeah, I'm gonna get to it. It'll look cool with these trials tires on. I don't know if they're gonna be any better than what I got now, but these tires are 17, 18-year-old rubber now, so they gotta come off anyway. The tires basically came with the bike, so trials tires, who knows? They look awesome on it. I haven't heard great things about them though. So yeah, we'll see. I bought a little headset so I can attach the GoPro to my helmet. I've never tried that before, so once it gets over the -20 degree Fahrenheit horse shit that's outside, come along for a ride, baby.